Good morning. Welcome to Sunday Morning Devotional brought to you by Golden Isles Primitive Baptist Fellowship and Heart Floss TV. I'm Vernon Eckleberry, and in a moment I'll bring you a lesson entitled Angels Among Us. But first we invite you to sing along as Brenda and Vernon sing All Night, All Day, Angels Watching Over Me.
All night, all day, angels watching over me, my Lord. All night, all day, angels watching over me. Now I lay me down to sleep, angels watching over me, my Lord. Pray the Lord my soul to keep, angels watching over me. All night, all day, angels watching over me, my Lord. All night, all day, angels watching over me. Lord, stay with me through the night, angels watching over me, my Lord. Wake me with the morning light, angels watching over me. All night, all day, angels watching over me, my Lord. All night, all day, angels watching over me.
Now let us look at our lesson this morning entitled Angels Among Us, taken from Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14, where Paul, speaking of the angels, says, "Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation?" In all circumstances in life, we have a resource available to us from God that is sometimes neglected, overlooked, or just simply forgotten. And of course, that resource is the ministry of angels. And this morning we are reminded that God has sent angels among us. But first we need to remind ourselves that angels in every respect are inferior to Christ. We read in the 6th verse of this first chapter of Hebrews that let all the angels of God worship him. Who is that? Of course, Jesus Christ. When John was given the book of Revelation, as an angel dictated it to him, at one point he was so overcome with what he was hearing that he bowed down at the feet of the angel to worship him. And quickly the angel replied, "See thou do it not, worship God." So angels are inferior to Christ, but superior to man. How else could they help us in a supernatural way? Thou hast made him, the psalmist writes concerning man, thou hast made him a little lower than the angels. That's Psalm 8:5. The first thing we see about angels here is that angels are spirits. Are they not all ministering spirits? That's how God created them. As we read in the 7th verse, it is God who maketh his angels spirits. Spirit comes from a Greek word, pneuma, which means wind, air, breath, or a bodiless spirit. The artwork of angels depicting them with human-like characteristics and wings flying about here and there, that is simply fiction. As spirit beings, they are not subject to human limitations. They don't need wings, in other words. Now let's look at the fact that angels are sent by God. In verse 14 again, we read, "Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth?" Angel comes from a Greek word meaning, or angelos, which means messenger of God. And the angels then do his bidding. The message that they bring from God comes in a various number of ways. Sometimes it is simply the spoken word. Sometimes it is through an act that God has instructed them to perform. They do his bidding. Psalm 103, verse 20 and 21 says, speaking of the angels, "They excel in strength that do his commandments, ministers of his that do his pleasure." So the angels have great strength. They have the ability to do great things on our behalf, but they do his commandments. They are ministers of his, and they do his pleasure. So there's no point in praying to angels, is there? Because it is God that tells the angels, that instructs the angels as to what their mission will be at any given time. They were created by God to serve him on behalf of his people. You know, Jacob saw the angels in that dream he had. He saw a ladder reaching up into heaven, and he saw the angels of God ascending and descending on it. A wonderful picture of how the angels come back and forth between earth and heaven, doing what God would have them to do on our behalf. Now, let's look now at the fact that angels are sent to the heirs of salvation. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? The benefits of Christ's redeeming work didn't end with Calvary. It doesn't begin with eternity, but it has tremendous gifts for us while we live in this life. God cares for and enhances the lives of the saved while they live this life on the earth. And many of these benefits come to us through the ministry of angels. How is it then that God's angels minister to us? Well, sometimes, as we see in the scriptures, they guide us in the direction God would have us to go. Such was the case with Philip. When the angel, as we read in Acts 8:26, the angel of the Lord spake unto Philip, saying, "Arise and go toward the south." Philip was going in one direction, and God wanted Philip to go the other, so he sent his angel to direct him. Sometimes the angels, in one way or another, will bring us encouragement. That was the case with Paul, as recorded in Acts 27, when he said, "There stood by me this night the angel of God." And what was the message he received from that angel? How did the angel minister unto him? Well, the angel told Paul in these 3 words what he needed to know. Fear not, Paul. Always God's angels have an interest in the welfare of our souls. In the 15th chapter of Luke, Jesus says, "I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner that repenteth." Sometimes the angels deliver God's people from peril. You'll remember the story of Daniel and the lion's den. After being delivered from that, Daniel told the king, "My God hath sent his angel, and hath shut the mouth of the lion." Sometimes the angels pick us up when we are down. And no time has that been more evident than in the life of the prophet Elijah, who was having the worst day of his life. We read of that in 1 Kings chapter 19, beginning at verse 4. But he, that is Elijah, himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and he came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. He was ready to die right there on the spot. And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him, and said unto him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baken with coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. And what happens next? The angel of the Lord came again, the second time, and touched him, and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. In other words, Elijah, God is not through with you yet. And of course, that began the next phase in the marvelous life of this prophet Elijah. Sometimes we find that angels surround us when danger lurks. There's an interesting occasion when Elisha and his servant were surrounded with the Assyrian army. And seeing this mighty army in every direction, Elisha's servant asked him, Alas, master, how shall we do? How are we going to get out of this? Well, Elisha prayed that God would open the eyes of his servant, and God did just that. And what did the servant see? As it's recorded in the 6th chapter of 2 Kings, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire. So get that picture. Here we have the Assyrian army surrounding Elijah and others in the city. And then we have the army of God, the angels of God surrounding the Assyrians. And that's what God sends his angels to do on our behalf from time to time. An army of angels. Now also our Lord, we must always remember, received the strengthening ministry of angels from time to time. When he was confronting Satan in the wilderness, when that episode was over, we read, Behold, angels came and ministered unto him. That's in Matthew 4:11. Then in the garden, on the night of his betrayal, there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. That's in Luke 22:42 and 43. And angels are present when we die, and they carry us to heaven. In Luke chapter 16, verse 22, there was a beggar named Lazarus. He died, and we read that he was carried by the angels unto Abraham's bosom, that is, to heaven, where Abraham was. And then at the last day, angels will gather up the people of God from all the various places where they are scattered. They'll come out of the graves, they'll come out of the sea, and the angels are sent for this purpose. He shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. That's in Matthew 24:31. And God will never be short-handed when it comes to the ministry of his angels. They are seemingly numberless. John saw this as he was writing the book of Revelation. He says, I heard the voice of many angels. Listen to this. And the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands. You think that's enough angels to get the job done? Jesus, at his arrest in the garden, told Peter, who had pulled his sword to fight back against the Romans, he said to Peter, "Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me 12 legions of angels?" Always this glorious number of angels are available to do God's bidding on our behalf. Now let's make the personal application. Among all the tens of thousands of angels are those that minister to us individually. The angel of the Lord, the psalmist writes in 34:7, "The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him, and delivereth them." Jesus, speaking of his spiritual children, said that in heaven their angels, those individuals, angels, do always behold the face of my Father. That's in Matthew 18:10. You know, I've often wondered, because the angels are eternal, they've ministered since the Garden of Eden. They, of course, were created before the foundation of the world. And I've often wondered, because of this, who the angel that God sends to me in my time of need, to watch over me. I wonder who that angel has ministered to throughout all the ages past. Think about that. Well, Psalm 91, beginning at verse 9, should be underlined in all of your Bibles, where we read, "Because thou hast made the Lord, which is thy refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh to thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways." Now, that doesn't mean that hard times are not going to come. Doesn't mean that we're not going to face danger, illness, sickness, conflict. But what this means, that God discharges his angel on our behalf to see us safely through it. Because angels are spirits, we don't generally see them, but we know our spirit perceives that they are there. Well, all children have sung it, and you sang it too at the beginning, but it's so true. All night, all day, angels watching over me, my Lord. All night, all day, angels watching over me and over you. Now may God be with you till we meet again.